Hi, Anti-Society! Welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet, and today we are watching episodes 202 and 203 of Bleach. Last couple of episodes, we really got to focus on Kenpachi and Noitara's fight that's been going on kind of in the background of the other fights that were going on, and we got to not only find out why Noitara has the eye patch, which I just completely missed. The fact that we didn't know where the hollow chain hole was, it wasn't in his chest like normally, and that we didn't see any of his hollow mask, which there's usually remnants of it. It was behind the eye patch. Of course it was behind the eye patch. After a moment of me feeling dumb, we got to go on with the fight a little bit more. Well, we kind of got to see a little bit more into Noitara, who he is as a person, and I do really like that Bleach is very good about expanding on kind of the philosophy behind why characters act a certain way and why they are deciding to be part of a conflict and stuff like that. I even back in Soul Society, I always liked that it went a little bit deeper than just kind of surface level of people like to fight. Even Kenpachi has more depth to who he is than just wanting to pick a fight. I mean, obviously he does enjoy picking a fight, but he's also got some other stuff going on. We learned a little bit about Noitara in that his perspective on why he needs to be good at fighting, why he wants to, become more powerful. And you guys pointed out in the comments of the last video the fact that he is connected to praying mantis. So male praying mantises are inferior to female praying mantises and the whole scheme of survival, I guess. I don't know a lot about praying mantises, but so that definitely puts in perspective of how he feels he's got a bit of a inferiority complex, especially towards female fighters, as we saw with Nell. So that's a really interesting connection. We got to see kind of his released form and how that links to praying mantis, both having the multiple arms, but also the scythe being very close to the front legs of praying mantis. And we also got to see some cool imagery of just how Noitara sees Kenpachi. So Kenpachi is definitely a very powerful person. He didn't have the eye patch, so that also kind of grows his strength. I'm sure that all of the other people from Soul Society and Ichigo and his friends and stuff can feel how much spiritual pressure there is where Kenpachi is now that his eye patch is gone. We got to see the skull that comes whenever he unleashes all of his power. We got to see Noitara's perspective on Kenpachi, and they did some really good things of making Kenpachi cast this really big shadow over the battlefield of him just being that imposing, which was a really cool design that you guys talked a little bit about in the comments of the last video. And we left off with Noitara growing an extra pair of arms and getting Kenpachi a little bit, but I feel well, I think Noitara is definitely a formidable opponent. I think that him and Kenpachi are a lot closer in strength than some of the previous fights that we've seen with the captains. I want to cheer for Kenpachi, and that feels weird because if you would ask me a couple months ago, hey, would you ever cheer for Kenpachi in a fight? I'd be no, ridiculous. Why would I want Kenpachi to win a fight? And now I'm definitely on his team in this fight. So I feel we're going to wrap that up, and then I'm not really sure because technically these two episodes are the end of this little arc section because there's a couple of filler episodes. So I wonder if we're going to end off with Ulquiorra coming back because he still has to come back. And I'm assuming that that's going to be kind of the next challenge for them to overcome because he's number 4. I don't think we'll get to the top 3 quite yet, especially since we haven't properly introduced them. I mean, maybe one of them will show up and just completely defeat all of them, and that'll be how we show how strong the top ranked Espada are, but not really sure. Maybe they'll leave Las Noches and Huecomundo in general. I feel that's a lot though to fit into a couple of episodes, but So let's just get into episode 202. In three, two, one, go. Let's see how this fight turns out. I'm choosing to believe in Kenpachi. If nothing else, he's got some other captains there to back him up, though I doubt he would be happy about that. I'm very intrigued by the Squad 4 captain, because I feel like the brief moments that we've spent with her have just been about like her being a healer, except when she like figured out about Aizen. But we haven't seen her really fight. We did like a tiniest bit, but we haven't really seen her in a combat setting. I should get Totoro. I don't trust this fight not to hurt me a little bit. I'm very curious to see how this part of the arc finishes. If it does, maybe it just like slides right into the next one. Imagine if Kenpachi like doesn't win this fight though, like after Byakuya and Mayuri both won their fights. I bet he'd be so angry. Like he'd be angry at losing in general, but the fact that like he was the only one that didn't win. Yes. What a mistake to make. I do wonder though, like I said in the last reaction, if Kenpachi like specifically didn't dodge out of the way quite enough that his eye patch ended up getting taken off. I wonder how intentional that action was on his part. Yes, the release form, which is pretty cool. I think Grimjo's is still my favorite though. We haven't seen the top four's release yet though, so that could change. Ooh, I want to know what Ukeora's is. Because Ukeora has a, I like Ukeora's design now more than I like Grimjo's. So I think his release will be cool. Something to look forward to. I hope these buildings were important because they're all getting destroyed. And then the sneak attack with the extra pair of arms. Those weapons come out of his wrists. That's a little unsettling. True, it's probably best to stay back. Look at that grid. Noithara has no idea who he's truly in a fight with. Oof. I do like the incorporation of the bells in just like Kenpachi's movement. There's something really, I don't know, interesting about that being part of his style. I do like the contrast of like Kenpachi's just like having a good time, and Noitara's like seems like a little bit concerned but very focused. Whereas Kenpachi's just giggling. Yeah, Kenpachi's less of a normal Soul Reaper and more of a force of nature. He runs on pure willpower when it comes to fights. Look at the almost like demonic imagery with Kenpachi here, with the flames and he's in the silhouette. It's a cool frame. Oh, with the skull. Why is that like an oddly good insult? You're an eyesore. Like it's not vulgar, but it's like I don't want to be an eyesore. He's turned a bit more serious. Gonna have to end it. Ooh. We haven't seen him use Kido, have we? Kendo, sorry. Is he gonna fight with both hands? Because I'm saying this whole time he's only fighting one-handed. I'm kind of happy that my observation, I was like, he's only fighting one-handed. That's pretty impressive. Is like actually something that's gonna be used as like part of the fight. You can get a lot more power behind a swing like that. So a little bit stronger. Slightly more. Isn't kendo like actually a type of sword fighting, if I remember correctly? It's a specific form of sword fighting. Like fencing is a kind of sword fighting, and then kendo is another kind. It's fairly like deadly if I remember what I learned about it. He lost a horn. I'm assuming then the strike was like really close to his actual head then. Oh dear. Still got his shoulder. He's just like, bye. We all know that Kenpachi doesn't like to fight people when they like can't properly fight anymore. Like it won't be any fun now. See? He doesn't like people that can't fight properly anymore. Unlikely. Yeah, I do think he'll fight him though. Like I don't think he would ever refuse someone a fight that they really want to be a part of either. Like, I don't think he would just finish someone off, but I also feel like he wouldn't like refuse a fight that someone is insisting on. Ooh, the symbolism of the horn also like tipping over. Mm. Seems more like trying to prove that you matter. You know, like proving that you're strong to like make people like care that you exist. Especially in like a, you know, Espada and Hollow world where like the strong survive, literally eat or be eaten, right? She's very dismissive of him, isn't she? The flex though of just like sitting there reading. Oh, I don't know if that was the right thing to say to him. I understand where she's coming from, of kind of being like protective in a certain way, but probably not the right thing to say. It'd be really embarrassing if he just collapsed, though. Oh, I like that lining up with those shots of like his eyes closing while hers are opening. Are we down another one? Usually they like dissolve when they actually change. I feel like I was told not to watch the ending. So I'm gonna stop because I believe that someone told me that I shouldn't watch the ender for spoiler related things. So we'll leave it there. So in that episode, we definitely got to dig a little bit deeper into some of the nuances of Noitara and like what motivates him, especially with his relationship or I don't know, grudge with Nell and sort of like what that how that affected him. And I feel like it really shows a difference in both of their characters. Like I feel like Nell seems more like someone who fights, and I could be wrong about this because obviously most of the time that I have spent with her as a character, she has been small child. So I might be wrong, but it seems like Nell fights more from a place of how can I protect people? Like even when we saw her fighting with Noitara when her mask got cracked and everything, she wasn't really fighting, like she wasn't fighting for herself. She was fighting for Pesce and Donachaka who were like attacked. So, and then when she was fighting him, this time when we saw her use her release form and everything, she was fighting for Ichigo. So it definitely feels like she's more geared towards how do I protect people, whereas Noitara feels, it feels like he's almost fighting like how do I protect myself, and not in a like necessarily in the like general self-preservation kind of feel of things, but from a place of like being more powerful means I matter. As I said during the reaction, like I feel like he wants to be powerful so that people acknowledge him, and in that way getting that acknowledgement proves that he is like something that matters in the grand scheme of things. Like I feel like part of the reason he was talking about why he doesn't approve of Aizen isn't because he has a difference of opinion of philosophies or something. The reason he's a bit confrontational towards Aizen is because Aizen has that power, and because of that, he's taken the leadership role. He has like the throne. There's some king and god imagery associated with him. Noitara being confrontational with him feels more like him wanting to be in that spot instead. Like he doesn't like being seen as a subordinate of someone. I know that we were talking about, I think over in the Discord, not in the comments of my last video, but we were talking about the moon imagery associated with Noitara and how like it feels like he's always trying to reach for that place, you know, trying to reach higher into the sky and that kind of a thing. And that's definitely an interesting kind of imagery to associate with him in terms of him, you know, trying to reach something that is unattainable in a lot of ways. Like you can't just like, I mean, normal people can't just reach up to the sky. Shonen characters can do crazy stuff, okay? I remember when Saitama got like punched to the moon and it was just like a brief inconvenience for him. Who knows what'll happen? It feels like it's an unattainable thing in that way, like he can't just like reach up into the sky and take it. But also you have to consider that Aizen made the kind of artificial sky, right? So it's always a blue sky. It's always sunlight happening, which means that there's like literally no night in Las Noches now, which means there is no moon. I'm assuming. I'm assuming it's always like that. Maybe he like lets the sun set and has like an artificial night sky. But like even then it's like Aizen allowing the moon to be visible, or like an imitation of the moon. Like he's still controlling even that kind of desire that Noitara has. He's still like subject to Aizen's control even in that too. I almost feel like I need to like really like sit down and have like a full deep dive into like a bunch of the imagery that's been happening in the last few episodes because there's just so much going on. I feel like in just the visual side of these episodes that even though the plot isn't moving super fast, that there's lots of other nuances happening. But we're going to get into the last episode before this arc ends because we're skipping over the filler stuff for right now. So let's get into episode 203 and see where we're gonna end off things. In three, two, one, go. Very interested to see how this is going to like. This part's gonna end because it looks like we're finishing up with Noitara. Ugh, my voice doesn't give out. So we like looks like we're finishing up the fight with Noitara. So I wonder whether it'll just like continue with them like trying to get farther in Las Noches or if they'll leave because they have Orihime, so I don't know if they want to take on Aizen and his Arrancar army right now. Especially if this is all they got right now. Like, some heavy hitters, don't get me wrong, some good fighters in the current group, but I don't know if it's enough. Especially considering that Aizen just, like, walked out of Soul Society without a scratch on him. My boy. You know what? Points to Noitara for, like, just not giving up. I still don't like him, but he's definitely got some willpower going on. Yes, and then we got demonic Kenpachi. Interesting contrast too with Noita, because Noita has a bunch of weapons, but he's only wielding the one-handed too. Like he has a weapon in every hand. So interesting to kind of like contrast having like six weapons and still not being able to go up against Kabachi's one using both hands. He did fight to the last, though. Refused to give up. Is it Nell again? I mean, that's one way to look about it. It's kind of dark, though, all things considered. Tesla? Don't they incinerate when they actually die, though? I don't feel like Kenpachi will, like, actually make sure he's dead. He's dead. Like, he might just leave him and see if somebody comes to heal him. Everybody is ruining their captain's garb except Mayuri. Ooh, please tell me you're not gonna pick a fight with him right now. Did you just leave his Bankai just like hanging around? True. That's what I've been saying. I'm like, he doesn't actually have to fight his way through the rest of Las Noches. Oh, hello. Are we back to square one? Oh, dang. Aizen himself said, bring her back. So we're picking back up on that plot thread because I forgot about that for a little while and now it's been worrying me. What's that now? Like the item that he's using. Byakuya, unfazed. Oh, is that like sort of what um the Squad 4's captain used when she was like telling everyone in Soul Society it was happening? Also, what's going on with Ishida and Renji with all the markings? Are we gonna get some context for that? Aizen always has a plan. Urahara? Do you hate to admit it, or do you like the challenge? Is Urahara gonna get them out? Oh, we're gonna see all the other characters. I'm very excited. I haven't seen Shinsui in a while, and I quite like him. And Toshiro, obviously. And Soy Fong's there. It's very dramatic. I could see everyone who's here. Seriously though, what's going on with Ishida? They can put like a protective barrier up though, right? Like they did when they were fighting there before. Okay, so the ooh, very elaborate though this time. Man, Urahara's been doing a lot of stuff while Ichigo's been out here getting beat up. Did Ishin go with them? Or is he hanging out waiting for a fight? What Vizard? I'm assuming they're hanging out also in the replica. So he's not gonna find any of the like souls that he needs to make the Oken, right? Puts a bit of a damper on his plans. Are these the other Espada? I'm assuming that the top three because Urahara, I mean Ukeota, is still finding his way back. See, Yamamoto might be strong enough to at least hold his own against Aizen. There he is. Technically, his job is to protect the people who live in the town, not the town itself. Because goodness knows he's helped destroy parts of it before. Are we getting a rematch? Because I'm definitely interested in the Ichigo versus Okeoda rematch. That's the end. Okay, I'm gonna skip the ender again because I'm pretty sure there's spoiler stuff. Looks like Soul Society is finally coming to the rescue of Ichigo and everyone. I mean, sort of, in that, like, some of them are trapped and whatever. But I like that at least someone had a plan, because goodness knows Ichigo is not a plan kind of person. We've got everybody in the town safely tucked away in the Soul Society, at least for now. Aizen is threatening to just, like, go to the Soul Society and kill off everybody anyway. But the moment they're tucked away, looks like we're going to have a bit of a war going on between the two sides. We're going to see the top three Espada really, I think, get to fight and kind of see what their abilities are and just how much of a difference there is from, Noitara, or even the brief moment that we saw of Ulkeoda going up to these top three fighters. And Aizen also looks like he's gonna get involved in this fight in some way. So, all interesting things. Yamamoto is also going to be part of it, which we didn't really get to see him fight because it cut away from his fight back in the Soul Society. So we got to see, like, the beginning of it, but we never saw him, like, really show off what he's capable of. So I think he might give Aizen a bit of a hard time. I don't know how much of a power difference there is, but at least everybody seems to be safe. I'll be interested to see if Ulkeoda decides to get involved with, like, Yoroichi and everyone. If Ishin decides to get involved. Ichigo still doesn't know that he's a Soul Reaper, so that'll be an interesting conversation if that comes up. I assume Vizard is going to get involved in some capacity. I'm just not sure exactly how much. But hopefully Urahara is figuring out a way to reopen the gate in some way so that they can get back. I guess everybody's trapped in the Soul Society. Maybe they'll figure out a way to let Urahara know what's going on. But before all that, it looks like we are getting a rematch between Ichigo and Ulkeoda, which I'm pretty hyped for. Like, I was hyped the last time they had their little skirmish, and that was so one-sided. I will be interested to see how this is going to turn out, because Ichigo hasn't really gotten necessarily stronger. Like, he got beat up pretty bad by Grimjo, but won. And I guess, like, he has gotten stronger in that, like, there's the implication that because he died, his hollow kind of side is more prominent, so he was able to stay in his hollow form a lot longer after being raised from the dead, and that helped him when he was fighting Grimjo. So he did defeat Grimjo, which he hadn't done up to that point. He got pretty beat up by Noitara, so maybe he can last slightly longer with Ulkeoda. I don't feel great about it, though. I don't feel great about his chances. But I am excited to see Ulkeoda fight again. And maybe some of the other captains are going to get involved in some capacity. I assume they're not just going to be sitting around waiting for something interesting to happen. So it looks like we're not going to get much of a deep breath before everything happens. It feels like all of the stuff that I've gone through in the Arrancar arc up to this point is just been warm up. Like with Kenpachi fighting Noitara, where he's like, it was all been a warm up to this point, like, now I'm actually gonna fight. I feel like that's what's happening. We, like, went through all of these Arrancar and Espada, and it's only like the real fight is happening now. So I have a feeling Totoro is going to be working some overtime for a little bit. I am going to give him a break, though. So I'm going to give Totoro a bit of a break going into October, and I'm gonna be using this guy instead. This is Jasper, for anyone who wants to know, and he's gonna be comforting me for a few of the episodes. So maybe I'll need both. I feel like this is gonna be really intense, that I might need double the emotional support. Could be. If you enjoyed this video, you can click this playlist over here to watch the previous episodes in this arc. You can subscribe. I post new Bleach episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!